Hey, it's Marella Manelli, and today I'm going to show you how to do a mini color correction using a quick highlighting technique along with some time-saving tips using a 10-minute coloring system using all Kenra color. Now let's go ahead and get started.
So let me give you the rundown of this particular model. So about 2 years ago, she did a global bleach and tone, specifically with 10 volume developer, and then she decided she wanted to go back to her natural hair color, and she did 2 fills with demi-permanent and then 1 round of permanent hair dye. And then since then, she's basically just maintained it with more demi-permanent hair color glosses. The reason why I know this is because this is a prior hairstylist. So she was definitely very knowledgeable in everything that was in her hair, which was awesome and made my job a little bit easier. I normally would do a strand test, but I felt very confident in the information that she gave me, and I decided that I was going to do a color remover using Malibu CPR. And this is basically going to help remove a lot of those oxidative dyes and pigments from the hair, and generally up to 3 levels of lift. So the way that I'm going to do this treatment is wet her hair right at the shampoo bowl and then use Kenra Professional clarifying shampoo. Now it's really important that when you do a clarifying shampoo for a color correction, you're going to want to make sure that you are agitating the mids and ends or where that prior color is really living. So I'm not trying to scrub the scalp. That's a really key important note to remember, so that way you're not irritating that scalp area with all of these different color processes. Once I'm done doing the clarifying shampoo, I'm then going to towel dry the hair and then just go ahead and put that CPR on all of the hair. Again, I'm not really focused at the root, but she did do a demi-permanent hair color gloss about 2 months ago, so I am kind of putting it close to her scalp, but really more focused on the mids and ends, and then simply putting a shower cap right on top of it and then under the dryer. Now you can process this for a little while, but I did 30 minutes under the dryer because I'm just basically looking to loosen up a lot of these pigments before going in with my actual color service, which is actually going to be pretty simple. Once you're all done with the dryer process, you're just going to take her back to the shampoo bowl and then do 1 more round of clarifying shampoo. Again, focusing on those mids and ends. I don't want to thoroughly cleanse her scalp area yet because we are going to be putting hair color. So just remember that the next time you do a color correction service. Your client will thank you later. Now for this sectioning, I'm keeping it really simple, just using her natural parting, which is a little off center. And then I'm taking about 2 inches right on in for that money piece area. And then from the apex right behind the ear. So keeping this really, really simple. Now here's a little preview of what her hair looks like freshly done from that CPR treatment. You can see I have a much even canvas to work with, and we've removed a lot of those indirect dyes that could kind of be troublesome sometimes when we're putting lightener right over it. So overall, I'm really happy with the canvas that we have. And then I'm just going to do 1 more pre-sectioning here, which is a V parting from the occipital all the way down to that center. And I'm just going to put that aside while I mix up my formula. So for this project, I'm using Kenra Professional No Ammonia Lightener, and I'm going to be mixing this up 1 to 2 with 20 volume developer. I really didn't think we needed anything too strong with this, and I love this lightener. It's a great general lightener really for all types of lightening projects, and I specifically like it because of the viscosity that it gives, but you can definitely mix this up 1 to 1 and then up to 1 to 3, but in general, I love 1 to 2 mixing ratios. If you watch any of my videos, that's usually my go-to. Now, I've been obsessed with this technique I'm going to show you, but you do need to have a couple tools on hand. So this is the Dream Weaver comb from Framar, and basically what this is going to do is create a highlight for you. And then in addition to this Cooboard, now you don't need these tools to do this look, but they're highly recommended to make your life a little easier. So basically I took out my weaved piece with my Dreamweaver, and now I'm using some really large foils just to, again, make my life a little easier when painting, and then pushing that loose hair right on up. So really this is kind of like one tease, but this board just makes it so much easier. And then from there I'm using my Power Painter brush to paint on my lightener, and the choice is kind of yours exactly where you want that lightener to live. So I'm kind of keeping this about 4 inches away from the root area and then folding these foils right on over to kind of sandwich them. So I'm going to be demonstrating a couple different ways on how to wrap these in foils, but you can kind of pick and choose what works for you. So the way you're going to do this is just take a slice right underneath your section, use your Dreamweaver comb to select out your highlighted pieces, and then insert that Cooboard along with some big pop of foils and push that hair right on up. And this is where you can go ahead and paint where it makes sense for the type of end result that you're looking for. If you want to learn more about the placement of highlights and the effects they create, be sure to check out my other hair tutorial called 4 Foil Placements and the Effects They Create, and link in the description. I'm going to continue on, but on this third foil, I'm taking a really wide horizontal section, which is why having the proper tools to do a technique like this is essential. And I'm really speaking about these super extra wide foils. That's what's really going to make your life easier, because a traditional size foil isn't going to cut it. So if you needed to use a smaller size foil or traditional size foil, then I definitely would split this up into 2 different sections. But time is money, so definitely worth the investment. I'm going to continue on with a similar pattern, taking V sections. So if you haven't noticed a trend yet, I really love having triangular sections as my background. This creates such a beautiful and seamless background, and it allows for those highlights to really stand out but still look really blended, which I love. So I'm going to continue on with this technique, taking a slice on these sections with my Dreamweaver comb and my Cooboard using my No Ammonia Lightener. So overall, the No Ammonia Lightener is going to give me the best amount of lift, gentle lift, for the type of project I'm going for. I'm not looking to get her super light here, although this lightener can lift up to 7 levels in a single application. This is formulated without ammonia and overall delivers a quick and optimal lift power that's less damaging to the hair, providing a more manageable result. Now what you're seeing here is me working on smaller sections than I was on that bottom section. So this is why I'm just using regular pop-up foils, and they're the perfect size for me to work in here. Now you could still use those big papas. Again, they're pretty great on time saving to just fold them over because they're already there. But I decided to just use these ones just to demonstrate that you can use a different size of foil. It's not necessary. So lots of great options with this technique. So I'm going to finish up the top back area with another triangle section, and I'm just going to add in a few more foils here to finish it up. Again, that triangle section of depth is going to give me the background necessary and then really diffuse that harsh line of demarcation that she has going on towards that bottom of her hair. And that's where that prior bleach was at. So this is why I don't want to use anything too super aggressive, but I wanted to do that CPR to give me a better canvas. That way I got a better or even lift out of my lightener. So I have a total of 7 foils going on in the back section. Now this is completely customizable, and you can add some hairline highlights and do whatever you want, but so use this as inspiration. But this is a really quick way to just do a full highlight in literally less than 20 foils. So moving on to the side sections, I'm gonna start out by taking a 2-inch wide section, so pretty deep here, and I'm gonna highlight that entire section. And I was able to do that because she has less density going on in this section. So if you're working with someone that's higher density, definitely take a smaller section for that Dreamweaver. And you're basically going to continue on and do the same technique, except when we get right to that temple area, we're going to switch a little direction, and it's because we need that depth going on. Keep in mind, we did isolate out that entire money piece all the way down to that corner of that front ear. So we're only going to add a total of 3 foils for this side section. And this is what I call the interior of the hair. So once I get this on, I'm then going to show you that little triangle piece, again, towards that temple area. It's really important because typically people are a little bit more sparse there. So for brunettes specifically, I want to keep the depth going on there because we don't want that to really stand out with highlighting. So now I'm going to take my comb and taking that corner of where her parting's at, I'm going to bring it all the way back so you can see it's slightly triangled. And I'm going to leave that section out. So it's going to live right behind where we add in some hairline highlights, basically. I don't want to highlight that area because I want to keep it dark so it blends in when we don't really see more scalp and bring attention to that area. Now moving on to that money piece area that I isolated, I'm only going to add one foil right here on her hairline. And you just basically took the entire section and weaved right on top of it. And I created a teasy light with this one. This is the best way to control a very low density face framing area. Just go ahead and do the teasy light. It's much easier to comb out anyways. And I'm using a smaller brush for this area just because I'm working with a smaller area. And still making sure it's all rooted, because this whole look and technique is all about creating that rooted transition with highlights and making this the ultimate beautiful foliage with less than 20 foils. So I do this to each side of her head, and then I'm only going to add in 2 more foils on the very top. I typically like leaving a little bit of my brunette's natural color right on the hairline, because most of the time they like the depth around the face because it's framing their face in general. So that's why I'm only adding in those 1 on each side, and then I'm going to add in 2 more for the very top section. So case in point here, I'm taking a 1/2-inch slice, and then I'm going to weave right on top of that, keeping her natural brunette closer to her face. So this highlight's going to live right behind her hairline. So she's still going to see it, especially when she pulls her hair back, she'll still see a little bit of highlight, but the primary color is her natural hair color. Although we are going to do a color melt, which I'm going to show you in just a little bit, because she does have a very small amount of gray that she's concerned with. So we are going to be blending that in addition to toning her highlights in one super easy step. So I'm going to let this process for just 30 minutes. Now you can process this up to 55 minutes, room temperature, no heat with this lightener. And overall, just keep an eye on it, just like with any lightener, and take it off when you've reached the amount of lift that you've desired for the look you're trying to create. For the next part of this process, I'm going to be using the brand new Studio Stylist Express 5G for her root area, and then 8NB and 9G equal parts for those mids and ends, and I'm going to color melt that all together equal parts with 20 volume developer. So I am applying this onto damp hair, and again, we're looking more for a gray blend out of this, even though this color line does offer 100% gray coverage. But since I'm putting this on damp hair, I'm looking to use this as more of a base break and a color melt service. So here I'm taking vertical sections. I find that I can get my color on really, really quickly this way. And I'm pretty much pulling this 5G all the way to the line of demarcation of when those highlights start. So keep in mind they were pretty rooted, so that's why I'm bringing this color down a little further. And then I'm going to comb this all down. Now, once I get towards that front area, I'm going to work going away from her face. And again, this is just for comfort level as well as application. I'm going to isolate out that money piece section so it's a little less deep than the back section. As I'm working through a color melt application, I like to comb through each and every single section. And if you need to reapply your root color, then definitely do that. And another key thing to remember is to thoroughly saturate, especially on that area where you're going to do that blend. So for me, I like to go ahead and comb through my product and then place my color right onto that color line, and then using my hands to really work it in, and even using the underside of my hand to just go ahead and further blend and diffuse that 5G into that 8NB and 9G. So that's how you're going to get this gorgeous lift, tone, and blend all in one step. And this Studio Stylist Express makes it so easy that it processes in just 10 minutes. And look at this finish, even straight. It looks really rich and warm, perfect for summer. To prep her style, I used Kenra Professional Thickening Mousse onto damp hair and give her a voluminous blowout, and then layered in Silkening Heat Cream. And I love this product because you apply it onto dry hair. It's going to provide thermal protection up to 450 degrees, and it also helps prevent breakage and improves manageability. Her hair felt amazingly soft and combable. And if you're going to be using this product for flat iron specifically, this is going to help reduce your hot tool passes by half. So you're going to have a much reduced styling time, which I am obsessed with this product. The last product that I layered in was Volumizing Spray Clay. Now this product is going to help add texture and volume, and what I love about it is it's in spray form, so you can easily distribute this through the hair. It's going to give you lots of fullness, volume, and texture with a long-lasting finish because it does have a hold factor of 15. So literally think of this as a hairspray and texture spray all in one. And here's the final result on how to do a super quick highlight. And as a matter of fact, this took less than 20 foils. And overall, this service can take you about an hour and 45 minutes to 2 hours total, including a full highlight, color melt service, covering gray, toning, all in one. And I even had time for a little shaping for this appointment. To give you a little recap, I used Kenra Professional No Ammonia Lightener at a 1:2 mixing ratio with 20 volume developer, and then followed up with Studio Stylist Express, or brand new shades of 5G, equal parts to 20 volume developer to give me that gray blend and base break, and then blended that right into 8NB and 9G 1:1 with 20 volume developer. And overall, I think we got a gorgeous blend.
I really hope you enjoyed this hair tutorial, and if you did, please give this video a thumbs up, make sure to subscribe, and be sure to check out my other hair tutorials right here on this channel, and I will see you next time.